This is the RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
Tip of the cat to you. Not the cat, but the cap. Production.
Nope.
Porsche was favored to win the pole.
Wrong.
As we get set to dive into our short track segment to wrap up.
Wrong again.
I may not even know the exact,
Oops.
I didn't even know how to say it. Wow, what is wrong with me? Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the RPM Podcast. As you can tell by the intro, I'm Eric Brennan, joined tonight by Scott and Tim Riggleman, along with Josh Matthews. But we want to get to the driver who made the biggest headlines this past weekend at Turkey Derby 45 out of Long Island, New York. Driver of the Tour Type winning number 36 entry, a race that has gotten away from him a couple of times over the last few years. Dave Sapienza. Dave, how's it going?
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
Good. We really appreciate you taking the time out to give us a couple minutes, kind of go over what was probably one of the best weekends that you guys have had in a while. So close so many times at Turkey Derby. Won the Larson Brothers Memorial Quick Time Award back in 2014. Taken out, we're running top three in 2015. And then you had what you said you felt was at least a top three car all day long. How big of a deal is this win for you and your team?
Oh no, this is probably going to be one of the biggest ones. I mean, winning the tour race would probably add up to this, but I think this one I've been chasing the longest, and it's gotten away from me. So it was like, I would say this is probably the biggest one of my career so far.
Now, looking back at Turkey Derby's past, you've shown the speed. We mentioned the pole award. We mentioned you running up in the top three. Was this something, even with the mixed weather that we had, the uncertainty of if we would even get the race in on Saturday, did you have that air of confidence in you since you got the car off the trailer?
Yeah, it was weird because every year before the Turkey Derby, we go down either the week before, they give you 2 weeks of practice. So we're usually in one of them groups of practices. And this year we said, you know what, we're just going to go there and unload for Friday and just traveling back and forth. It's just so much money to bring the tractor trailer down 2-3 times before we go there. So we were just going to come right out of the box. And I just had a good feeling that we were going to do well. I mean, I had a lot of confidence coming into this race because I've been so good there over the years. So I kind of was not getting cocky or anything, but I was like, I don't really need much practice because I take to that place very well. I don't know why, but I just do,
Yeah, it's funny. You say you take to Wall very well. Obviously, you started racing a Modified at Riverhead Raceway, a track that is completely different to Wall. Been on the Modified Tour since 2014, and the results have really started to show over the last 3 years for you and your team. But Wall Stadium is so different than what the Tour runs on. Usually, we know we'll see them next year. Why is it? What is it about Wall Stadium, despite it being, kind of in a league of its own as far as racetracks up here in the Northeast, that you seem to adapt to it so well?
I still can't figure it out. I don't know. I was watching that video before, and I was just laughing. I'm like, I'm barely moving in the car. And I'm like, wow, it looks like anybody can drive the thing. But for Wall Stadium, I don't know. It just came to me naturally. I mean, since when we first started going there, in the past couple of years, I really stepped up my game. And it's just been a breeze. I mean, even if I screw up, I'm still going fast. I don't get it,
I will say I watched some of that video because Tim sent us the link. And it looked, I mean, you made it look easy. It was smooth, and I'm not just sucking up. It's just one of those things. Like watching that video, I was like, "Wow, that's all you have to do." I'm used to saving mine halfway down the backstretch.
And that's one of the things caught my eye. I'm like, wow, people are going to see this and be like, he's not even struggling in a car. It's just smooth turning, and when you're driving, it feels totally different. But when you're watching yourself driving, I was like, oh man. You're barely doing anything, and just like just out on a Sunday cruise.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, I watched that video also, and it does look like you're on a Sunday cruise. But one thing I do notice is how fast you got down those straightaways. Like the corners look almost effortless for you, but how fast you got to the next corner, that was the real amazing part of that video. And
the funny thing is on the radio with my guys, and I just fell in line, and I just was riding. I really wasn't pushing the issue. I wasn't trying to get close to anybody. You know, I just want to leave myself some room and with log laps and just, you know, save the car. You know, I just learned a lot of patience over the past couple of years, and especially there because, you know, things happen quick there. So I said, one of the big things was like, I could have passed Jimmy early. I felt that I had enough to get by Jimmy, but I said to myself, you know what? The best place to be at Wall Stadium is be behind Jimmy Blewett at the end. You know? Because there's been so many times that I've been in front of Jimmy Blewett at the end, and I never walked out of there with, you know, with a trophy. So I said to myself, what I'll do is I'll hang back. I'll let Jimmy do his thing with Matt. You know, I didn't think it was going to come to what had happened. You know, I don't really know what happened. I mean, it was a little rough, but I wasn't really paying attention to them. I told Jimmy, I was like, just concentrating on his back bumper. I kept my distance. I just wanted to just roll. And I knew if it came to it and if he got around Matt, you know, I think I could have got around Jimmy first. I don't know if I would have a struggle with Matt or not, but I had a lot of car left. But I knew if it came down to the last couple laps and I had to get around Jimmy, I know I could have done it. And, you know, and that would give me enough time to get away from him before he could get back to me. But that was my plan. I was just kind of hanging back and just cruising and not beating on my car. I pitted with them, and you know, we all went out on fresh tires, and my car was holding up real well. Even, you know, the first 115 or 114 laps whenever we came in, I still had a lot of car left. So I knew with the new tires on the cars, you know, we were only going to go another 30 or 40 laps. And I knew that I had something for either one of them. There's no doubt about that.
Now, what was the tire rule? Were you allowed 2 tires, 4 tires, 3 tires? How many tires did you put on at the break?
2. You're only allowed to change 2. So any 2 on the car, right sides, rears, whatever. So what we did was when we pitted, you know, we put the right sides on and we, you know, swapped the rears, the left sides. I mean, so we just, you know, put the 2 new rights on, swapped the left sides, and went right back out.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, it's only a 2 tire rule.
Okay.
So, Dave, the announcement was made just before Turkey Derby weekend that Wall Stadium would be part of the 2019 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. I have to imagine that you were happy before the weekend started. Has that anticipation for mid-May next season gone up a little bit since this win?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I'll probably be going there with a different car. I mean, this weekend we used my TA2, my Troya car. And I'm sure everybody knows that I just purchased another LFR, so I got 2 LFRs for next season. And I you know, at the end of the year, I mean, you know, it showed. You know, I was capable of putting one of them cars up in the front. So going to Wall with the LFR car should, I'm not going to say be better or the same, but I think I might have an advantage. And you know, because I know Wall better, so either car is going to work pretty good for us. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, the TA2 car that you won with, is that totally tour legal, or is that more like a open comp type modified?
No, it's one that we had in the fleet we used it almost the whole year on the tour this year. You know, at certain tracks we didn't use it. We didn't use it at Loudon or Bristol, but I used it pretty much at every other track. You know, it's a pretty decent car. It's fast. You know, it's real technical. You know, the chassis in the rear. There's a lot to it. You know, I don't know much about the setups and stuff, but you know, the car's real finicky when it comes to stagger stuff like that. So it's got to be right on, or it's going to be a rocket, or you're going to be in the back floating around.
You might want to bring it next year with you just as a backup in case the LFR isn't as good, because that thing was on the rails.
We were just talking about that yesterday. I was like, you know, it might be something that I have to keep, you know, and just keep it for a couple of certain. I mean, I used the same car at Riverhead when we finished second and I think 5th this year. Yeah, because I was up in the front, and you know, normally at Riverhead, that car comes alive. But, you know, when it comes to time trialing at Riverhead, I'm not the best time trialer. So usually I'm starting anywhere from 5th on back to 11th. And normally when I'm, you know, back that deep, I usually come in at the end, you know, I manage to get up in the front. So in the top 5 almost every time. So, but yeah, that car is, it works there.
I wish I could time trial in 5th.
Now, Dave, as we said, the results for the team, specifically over the last 2 years, just seems to be getting more and more consistent on a tour that seems to be getting more competitive. Now, momentum is a big thing in racing, obviously. Do you guys kind of wish that the 2019 season started this week, or are you guys confident you could ride this wave of momentum right into next season?
No, I think we're going to ride it right into next season because just ending out the last 2 tour races themselves in the new equipment, it just it just put a lot of confidence in me and the team, and then just going here and doing this, even jumping out of an LFR car and jumping in my Troy car and go win the Turkey Derby, it just shows that it's a lot of me and a lot of the team. I mean, we've starting to hit on things, So I think we're just going to carry that right into next year.
Dave, it takes a lot of people, a lot of parts, and a lot of funding to put these rides together. Who specifically helps you get to the track week in and week out, and who do you really have to thank for putting this all together as the Tour Modified Turkey Derby champion in 2018?
Well, I definitely got to thank my crew chief, Tommy Grasso, and his brother, Danny. Tommy houses everything. He keeps the cars, truck, and trailer, everything at his house. He works on the things 24/7. I put him through hell this year because we've had a few incidents where I did some damage, but we had a couple of mechanical failures also. So, just things that we got to go over a little bit more. Tommy knows what he's got to do. And now moving into these new chassis, I don't think we're going to struggle right away because Robbie Fuller has been helping us a lot towards the end of the season. And going into next season, we pretty much got a pretty big grasp on everything, what we need to do. So, I just got my whole crew, you got, I got my nephew Timmy help me. I got my buddy Billy Smith. I got my sister who pretty much runs my business and, runs the race team. I got, who else we got? I got my buddy Kyle. He's the powder coater and he's also a tire guy. And there's a couple other guys that just, they're there week in and week out, just helping us out and getting things done.
What about the engines? Who's your engine builder?
Billy the Kid.
Billy's a great guy.
Billy the Kid's been outstanding. What had happened is I had purchased one from Robert Yates, and I already had 2 from Billy, so I kind of keep them rotating. But Billy has stepped up his game. Not that he never did before, but he's come to realize a few things that he hit on, and he's been passing it on to us, and we've been very successful. I've never had really any engine failures compared to a lot of the other teams. That's why I get nervous like when there's a few laps to go, like on Saturday, and it was like I said to myself, you always see these guys dropping out of the race because of a lash cap or blown, a rod breaking or a bolt breaking or something going on. So we've never, knock on wood, we've never had any really severe engine failures, during the races. We actually I can't even recall any. We maintain everything pretty well. So Billy gets the stuff back and he freshens them up, when time's up. So, but we stay on top of that stuff to try to prevent all that from happening.
Now, Dave, just to be clear, plan for 2019, full tour slate and Turkey Derby to bookend the season, just like it was this season?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're definitely gonna shoot the whole 2019 season. I'm actually going to be running a lot of shows at Riverhead too, because another team, local team that I teamed up with for the Saturday night shows. I'm going to run them shows on a weekly series at Riverhead when it doesn't conflict with the tour. So I'm really excited about that too.
Now, what about speed weeks? Do you ever go down to New Smyrna or Bronson Speedway?
Well, I doubt we're going to make Bronson. We were just talking a couple of weeks ago about going down and using the LFR car just for like two nights, like the Wednesday night show and the Friday night show. I think that's still on. I'm just going to see how the finances. I own my own business. I have a few people kicking money here and there, but I just when I'm not racing, I'm working. So when I left the Turkey Derby Saturday, I came home. I went to bed Sunday morning. I was at work. I worked all day Sunday. I'm there every day. So when I'm not working, I'm racing. I'm not racing. I'm working. So if I get enough money together to go down to Florida for a couple of days, Robbie said he'll take the car down, free of charge. He's going down there anyway. I'll just pop down there with my helmet and my suit, and we'll run a couple of races, bring a couple of guys with us, but not the full 5 days.
Well, lots to look forward, Dave, heading into 2019. New car, a lot of momentum on your side, and you will forever be known as the Tour Type Modified winner of Turkey Derby 45. Dave Sapienza, thank you so much for taking the time with us. I want to wish you the best of luck, not only through the offseason, but in 2019 as well.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Bye. Yep.
Once again, that is the 2018 Tour Type Modified winner at Turkey Derby 45. And with that, we have a moment to step back. Once again, I'm Eric Brennan. We got Scott Riggleman, who competed in both factory stock events, Tim Riggleman, who was helping spot it this past weekend and was at all 3 days of action in what was a cold and sometimes wet weekend at Turkey Derby, and Josh Matthews, who was doing the same as well. Gentlemen, we got another one in the books. It was a long one. It was a marathon one, but man, it was entertaining. And how about Dave Sapienza? We kind of went over a little bit at the beginning of talking to him. You know, it's hard to believe that this race, he has, and he's right, he took a liking to that racetrack very quickly. He showed speed every year that he came out there, going all the way back to 2014. And it finally comes back his way. It came with a little bit of help with him being in the right place at the right time. But as we just heard from him, he positioned himself to be in that position once Hirschman and Blewett made some contact. And it sounds like that he thought he had something wrong with them anyway. It sounded, and I kind of looking back on it, hearing how confident he was, I wish I could have seen that race play out naturally, because he might have had something for them.
You know, he definitely did. I watched the race, and I even said to Nancy, I said, the 36 car is running a great race. I mean, he's kind of letting everybody else do their thing, and he's just cruising along, and his car was stout, you know. Even if you look at the lap times, he did like a 12.3 when everybody else was doing 4s and 5s, so he was the fastest car on the racetrack. I think it's a shame that Jimmy and Matt got together, because it takes away a little bit from Dave winning. I think Dave really would have won anyway. All you heard was Matt and Jimmy. I think Dave was the class of the field that day, and I think even if Matt and Jimmy didn't wreck each other, I think Dave would have got by him. It was a great race.
A lot of the conversation with the open wheel classes at Turkey Derby are the extra distance races at Wall. There's another fumble of words for you, Josh. It does come down to the tire strategy, and it sounds like that Dave was kind of saving his stuff, which he mentioned in an interview with Speed51.com. He thought Blewett was kind of doing that, so he was kind of, you know, following suit a little bit. And I think, Scott, like you said, he might have done a little bit of a better job while Matt and Jimmy were racing out amongst themselves, that he showed more speed even when that contact took place. Obviously, the bump was one of the biggest storylines of the day. And, of course, there was the post-race comment by Matt Hirschman saying he really wasn't expecting it. Just so everybody knows, we did try to get Matt to come on and kind of go over some things. He had other things going on. But nevertheless, that was the big story. And the ensuing penalty to Blewett by having him fall back behind Hirschman, because that contact did not draw a yellow. Josh, Tim,
I want to say, I mean, regardless of the incident itself, I appreciate that Hirschman, you know, kept going.
Yeah, he didn't bring out the yellow like most
he
people
didn't
do.
sit there and go, I want my yellow, like which a lot of guys do. And basically everyone except for the factory stock seemed to do it. And so he got back in line and kept racing. He's like, well, that sucks, but he kept moving. And then he had the fortune of the caution come out after that to let them assess the penalty. And a lot of people were saying that Blewett wasn't sent to the back. He was only sent to a position behind. Well,
I kind of like that rule.
Well, I mean, that's how it would normally work out. It says that Hirschman didn't bring out what he didn't cause the yellow. He didn't bring out the
fell
yellow.
back to 6th, so they put Jimmy 7th, and you know, if that would have brought out the yellow and went all the way to the rear of the field, they would have put Jimmy to the rear field also. Exactly. I like that rule. I had no problem with that rule. And you know what? And honestly, they were both 6th and 7th, and they still had a few laps to go. They had every chance of getting back up there and beating Dave, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking about watching Dave's video, I mean, he was smooth and just roll. I mean, I don't know how much pressure he really had on him, but I mean, just kind of like you said, Sunday drive. Just keep it together, and just make it to the end at that point. And especially if they weren't catching him.
You know, I learned in all my years of racing, some days you just have days like that where everything just falls your way, and the car just never skips a beat, never runs hot. The brakes never fade. The car just handles all day long. And you can never pinpoint why. You know what I'm saying? So we were saying, you can go back the next week after a week like that, and the car's total junk. He just had one of those perfect racing days, and it was good to see that he had that.
Yeah.
And if I can go back to the call between Blewett and Hirschman, I saw some people say, well, you haven't called like that all year. Well, Turkey Derby is not a points-paying event. It's an event in its own right. They time trial almost every class for Turkey Derby because it is that significant and that important. So I had some time to sit on it, and being that I have no bias anymore in any situation that takes place, I'm with you, Scott. I like it because it promotes the driver to keep going. If Hirschman stopped to draw the yellow to try and get more attention to penalize the 76, it slows the race down. He would have had to go to the back, and the 76 would have to go to the back. By him showing the sportsmanship and continuing on and going, and the opportunity presenting itself later on for the officials to review the contact, yeah, it kind of helped Matt. It kind of helped Jimmy because if he did draw yellow, he probably would have went back a lot further, to the back of the field than where he did. Call it what you want as far as the contact itself, but the call, I'm with it, and I hope it sticks not only for 2019 at Wall, but I think a lot of short tracks should pick up on this. It's kind of like a road race style penalty system, and I think it benefits all involved. The show, the drivers that were involved, plus it puts them back together in the middle of the pack, and you can keep your eyes on them while watching the front. So
they still had a chance. Both of them still had a chance.
And that's the thing. So I'm on board with that, and like I said, we try to reach out to a couple of them, but then Dave Sapienza was available, and we're really happy that we had a chance to talk to him. And I was doing my best to keep tabs of the race, and it looked like a thriller. And Sapienza was the one who ended up with the win. How about this top five? Dave Sapienza, the winner. Zane Ziner, who we haven't seen him run that well in a modified at Wall for a couple of years. He's run well in a modified at many other places, just kind of struggled at Wall over the last couple of seasons.
It's like we were talking, like Dave said, how he took to Wall. And, some drivers do, some drivers don't.
Right.
It just, that's how it plays out.
Ron Freese came home third. Many penciled him as a favorite after how fast he was in practice. He's been driving around and touring a lot more than just running Wall on a weekly basis. Blake Barney also been touring around, not running just Wall on a weekly basis. That may have helped him in the tour-type car at Turkey Derby. He finished fourth, and then it was Blewett fifth and Hirschman sixth.
Yeah, and Blake Barney actually had the opposite that Dave had. He was struggling bad in the beginning of the race. He started fourth, and he fell all the way back, and he was almost ready to get lapped. The car was very, very loose. Under his pit stop, they made some great adjustments, and then he came right back up through the field. So that was good to see. Ron Freese did a great job. This is the second year in a row that Ron Freese has finished third. So, maybe next Turkey Derby will be his turn to win. He ran a great race also.
Now, with that, I say we take a very quick break, because when we come back on the other side, we're going to have the Wall and SK Modified winner also on the RPM podcast, Eric Mauriello, after he had a great way to end his season. And if you look back in the last few years for Mauriello, this win has got to be huge. We'll ask him how it fares up with his Tour Modified win and a whole bunch more when we come back to the RPM podcast Turkey Derby 45 edition.
Don't go anywhere.
Hey everybody, this is Sam Ballard from the RPM Podcast. Planning an event and looking for a great time? Go no further than RC2U Racing for all your portable family entertainment. RC2U turns any occasion into a competition. Check them out online at rc2uracing.com.
Welcome back to the RPM Podcast. It is a pleasure now to welcome the winner of the Wall and SK Modified portion of Turkey Derby 45. Not the first time he's been to victory lane at Turkey Derby, but the first time he's done so in a Wall and SK car. And we were, of course, talking about the driver of the Steve Farrar Motorsports number 31 in Eric Mauriello. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'll tell you, we were kind of talking about this before we got going. If we look at your racing career trajectory, sportsman title at Wall, then got into the Wall Modified with Dick and Robert Barney, then parlayed that to a tour-type Modified Turkey Derby win with that team, and then things just kind of got a little bit unglued, not of your doing, but just circumstantial, and you kind of had to scratch and claw your way back to where you ended up on what was Sunday. How big of a deal is this win for you in your racing career?
It was big. I mean, I think it's bigger for Steve and his guys and the rest of the team after, honestly, we had a long year. We had some good finishes and a lot of top fives, a lot of nights in tech, but it took all year to finally get that win. And, Turkey Derby ended up actually being 3 in a row for us. And,
how's bragging camp going?
And we were talking about this before, but we struggled all weekend with the car, and we qualified 11th, and we finally found something Sunday morning before our feature, and I think it was just big for the whole team. Not really just me, but for Steve and his guys more than anything.
Hey, Eric, you brought it up that the race was on Sunday morning. Was that a distraction, or did it actually buy some time for you and help you out a little bit?
It helped us out, but it didn't help that we started Friday in like below 0 temperatures, and then it ended up like 60 on Sunday to race. So that changed some things.
Yeah, to follow up on that, Eric, I was going to say now, if everything would have stayed on schedule, that race would have been run kind of Saturday night. The sun was already down when they stopped the legend car race, and obviously it was frigid, it was cold, it was damp, it was slick. Do you think running this race in the sunlight, and especially getting the car out there for a couple laps of practice, like you said, just before the race began, essentially, do you think the change in weather really helped the car kind of come to you guys?
Yeah, I do, because finally, by the time this year we grasped the car, it was around 50, 60 degrees out every week. So we haven't really ran it in the cold in a while. We threw some things out Saturday night before the feature was supposed to roll out. Never had a chance to try it. So Sunday morning definitely helped us out, and racing on Sunday for that matter.
Now, looking back over the last few years for you and your team, once the relationship with the Big Red 14 car came to a close, you picked up a new job career-wise, and it kind of allowed you the opportunity to partner up with Team Outlaw as a teammate to run part-time with Jimmy Blewett. A lot of 1-2 finishes for you guys, and you also got to work really well with a guy who has run exceptional in an open-wheel car at Wall Stadium Speedway. Do you credit anything that you were able to pick up, I'd say specifically at Turkey Derby, being that it's usually a very physical event, with that part-time deal or limited relationship that you had with that team and Jimmy as a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching Jimmy since I was a little kid, and whenever you go watch a race or whenever you want to get better, you watch who's the best or who you think's the best. So anytime I was around him on the track or even just watching him in practice, I tried to pick up on something. And then being part of his team between him, Ormsby, and those guys over there, they really taught me a lot in a year, car-wise, driving-wise, just things like that. I think that really helped my career out in that sense.
Now, the relationship with the Ferrara family and that race team materialized late in 2017, full-time 2018. You mentioned the 2 wins that you got to end the season, 3 in a row if you count Turkey Derby, as you said. How did that relationship come about? Did they approach you about, giving you the keys to that ride? Were you guys talking well before that? How did that all come about?
It's funny. I really never talked to Steve until the day we talked on the phone about me driving for him at the end of last year. It was always like a, hey, what's up in the pits type of thing. But no, it was the end of the year and they just wrecked really bad. And they actually used one of Jimmy's cars to finish out the season. And, long story short, I ended up racing the last 2 or 3 races for him. And we built our relationship up pretty quick. We all got along really well. And it's really been it from there. I mean, it's been great for me and my guys, and we seem to pair well with them guys too. So
now I know you've been trying to balance, work with the racing commitments. You were able to kind of perfect it this season, 4th place finish in points with the 2 wins at the end. Do you know what's in store for you for 2019?
Honestly, we haven't really talked about it yet. As far as work goes, it's always up in the air. They actually called me in Sunday morning to work, but I guess I chose wisely on that. But I was saying all day before we went out, this is costing me money, blah, blah, blah. But
well, no matter what, going out there is going to cost you money.
Yeah.
Eric, I say the same thing too because I own the towing business, and if I'm racing, the tow truck's not, is at the track tows Nancy's car to the track, so it's not out making money. And I always leave my cell phone in my truck, and then sure enough, at the end of the night, I'll pick the phone up and I'll look at Nancy. I'm like, yeah, I missed like 7 tow calls. I think I would have made a lot more money if I just would have worked the tow truck all day. But you know what? The way I look at it, you work hard, and you gotta live your life a little bit too. So sometimes you just got to take off and go racing. That's the way I look at it. Why work so hard if you can't go racing? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I totally agree.
Well, what is it you do for a living now?
I'm a lineman at JCP&L.
So when they do call you, what is the protocol? You can refuse work, or you have to go in?
Well, usually you don't answer if you don't want to go in. So you kind of play it off. But it didn't help that I walked in to work Monday and my manager already had a picture of me in victory lane. So,
whoops.
No, it's all good. They don't really hound you too bad.
I'm just wondering how the trophy situation worked out with you and Steven. Did you come home with a trophy, or did Steve take both trophies?
Oh, he took one. He gave me one and the wreath.
Oh, cool. So you got the trophy and the wreath?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Now, Eric, your racing career, it still continues to look promising. You know, obviously, you're still a young race car driver. We've watched your path, you know, all the way since, I think, your first Sportsman Championship or your last Sportsman Championship was around 2012. I mean, is there any interest to try to expand on your racing career still? Are you looking to get back in a tour type modified for a few races, or maybe even the new wheeling date that was announced for May 18th next year? Are you kind of happy being, you know, the home track, hometown guy that, you know, all the friends and family can come out and watch every week?
Honestly, I'm good either way. I'm just happy to be racing something. I would love to move up. I would love to try to get somewhere, but, you know, we all know how hard it is. It's not very easy to just get somewhere without having a big backing. So, you know, short track racing is where I'll end up. That's fine by me.
Well, Eric, you know, now we're not really sure what 2019 may hold for you. How about your off season? Do you still go hang out with the Ferrara team and help kind of prepare them for 2019, even though you're not exactly sure what the relationship may be or what your personal schedule may entail?
Yeah, we're going to do something for next year. We're just not sure exactly, you know, if we're going to race the whole season or if we're going to travel or, you know, stuff like that. But we're definitely going to do something together. I was talking to Steve today, actually. We were talking about when we were going to start taking the car apart and, you know, what we're going to do in the off season, try to make it better and things like that.
Now, Eric, you know, you started out on quarter midgets and you had a great career on quarter midgets too. Did you ever try to do anything at like the Atlantic City indoor races? Did you ever look into doing like a TQ ride or a slingshot or something like that down there over the winter?
I did. I always wanted to run a TQ there. But I'm not going to lie. It's fun going down there and just watching sometimes.
Without a race car, right?
It seems like some of those guys just torture themselves all weekend.
Watching is a key word for many other things that we all end up doing down there.
Yeah. There's kids watching.
Now, with that, is your plan to just kind of enjoy, you know, the indoor races as a fan? You're not actively searching for those opportunities right now, just something that's on the bucket list?
Yeah, I'll probably just go watch again this year and just hang out. We usually have a good time. Ken usually has the whole Napa deal going, so we usually have a good time down there, just hanging out.
Eric, just so you know, Elliot Wall's already called me to try to replace you as the renting a suite at the Trenton Dirt Car Race. He's like, well, Eric's not around no more, and he split the suite with me last time. Why don't you do it with me this time? I'm like, no, I'm busy that day, Elliot. Sorry. So
I was talking to Ryan Flores, who was on with us last week, and I was asking him what his travel plans were because he's got a ride for all the races, including the dirt race.
Right.
And I was, you know, he may fly out of Concord into Trenton. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we could do something. And I'm just not sure yet. I've been taking a lot of time off, and I really would like to do AC, and that's going to be tough. But, the suites were a good time. At Mauriello, if you don't have anything planned yet, I look into the suites for the Trenton indoor race. They're not that expensive, and it's a really, really good time.
Yeah, I have to say, I definitely Atlantic City is definitely the best one to go to if you're going to try to get to one, but that seems to be the best time out of all of them.
Now, along the same lines, has dirt racing been something you've ever entertained, whether it was in like a dirt modified or, you know, even in this a full-bodied stock car?
I actually raced dirt for 4 years. I ran micro sprints after quarter midgets.
Oh, wow.
I love dirt. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to drive. But, you know, then Sunday rolls around and everything's dirty. And that's your day. So
where were you when you were racing on dirt? Where were you going?
I raced mainly at Border Speedway, and it was still around before it was paved. I ran at Bridgeport once or twice. Greenwood Valley Action Track. That place is awesome. That's really it. We didn't travel too much, but those are the 3 main places we went.
Eric, with that being said, I mean, you raced many years with your father. Do you guys still own any of your own equipment, or are you guys totally out of racing that as a family team?
No, we're totally out as far as cars and everything wise. Trailers too. It's all gone.
So, how does it feel though to be in a position where you know you have what it takes, and you know that you're good enough that other people are willing to call you and trust you with their equipment? To reach that level in your professional driving career, especially driving for people like you said earlier, Dick and Robert Barney, Rob Osborne, and now Steve Ferrara and company. I mean, is that like a pinnacle of a young racer's dream? I've never been there before, so I'm not sure how big of a deal that may be.
Yeah, it's a pretty good feeling. I mean, the cars aren't cheap, and nothing about them's cheap. So to get called and say, "Here, drive my car," that you might destroy in one lap, that it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it makes you feel good for sure.
So you got the Tour Type Turkey Derby, Laurel. You got the Wall Modified Laurel this past weekend. We talked about how you'd love to drive an indoor TQ once or twice. What else is on the racing bucket list for you?
I mean, specifically, nothing really. I would just love to try to move forward if I could. That's really about it.
Eric,
anything moving forward, I'd be happy with.
Eric, did you win the Turkey Derby in the sportsman car also?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That one's on my mind. What year was that? Was that 2012?
10, I believe. 2010.
Okay. I was still in the grandstands back then. But
hey, Tim, you want to ask him the food question real quick?
I think my mic shut off. Oh
no, I don't shut you off.
We got you, Tim.
What's your favorite place? What racetrack has the best food, and what do you like there?
What racetrack has the best food?
At all the tracks you've been to, even the quarter midget days, the dirt days, you were saying you're racing other tracks with the dirt car. Wherever you've been, was there any type of food you got from the concession stand that you really liked that was maybe different than other tracks?
Well, I got a top 2. If you want really good pizza, you go to Grandview. And, I don't think they have it anymore, but New Egypt used to have the London broil steaks. That's my favorite.
That was one of my favorites, too.
Wow.
Well, Eric, once again, congratulations. What a great drive. Happy to see things kind of come full circle over the last 4 years after you had to step back for a little bit and then got the opportunity with the Ferrara team. We hope to see you guys back on track for a championship run in 2019. And happy holidays and happy New Year to you and your family.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks a lot.
Your Wall and SK Modified winner at Turkey Derby 45, Eric Mauriello. We kind of elaborate a little bit more on how he was with the Dick and Robert Barney team for the Tour win in 2014. Obviously, circumstances took Eric out of the car for a short while, had to go back to that part-time season, and things kind of came full circle with the Steve Ferrara team. And he mentioned how much it meant to the Ferrara family. And I will tell you, that is a passionate and dedicated group of individuals. If you follow any of the team members on social media, they are all in on promoting that team, that organization. And it's nice to see that level of pride and admiration for one another pay off the way that Eric was able to get to victory lane. And although I didn't get to see the race, I was told by a couple other people, including my buddy Gary Larson, that Eric had to come from the back to the front on more than one occasion. So it wasn't that he was in the right place, right time. He drove himself to the front on numerous occasions to grab this win and held off a very fast Andrew Krause in the latter stages to get it done. So,
and he had a couple great restarts, and it seemed to be in that race. It seemed like the car that started on the outside got the jump, and one time Danny Bone jumped out into the front on the outside, and then on the next restart he was on the inside, and Eric was on the outside, and he was able to get the jump on the outside. So it seemed like the outside, which is weird at Wall Stadium, was the place to be on the restarts, and just like watching Eric's race was very similar to. Watching the Tour race with Dave Sapienza, like there's times you can physically see a car on the track and see how well it's working compared to the other ones, and you can see that with Dave's car on Saturday night, and you could also see with that with Eric's car on Sunday too. You can just tell. I'm like, man, I even told Nancy, I said, Eric's hooked up. That car is running, man. And when Danny Bone passed him, I was very surprised. And then on the next restart, Eric was able to get him back and pull away. And Eric ran a great race.
Well, Scott, you mentioned the outside being particularly good, or it seemed to be, at least in this race. Let's remember that they have been putting down the VHT or the sticky stuff.
I heard they didn't spray it down for Turkey Derby because I heard what.
Did you see how black that upper groove was?
It was definitely black, and I thought it was sprayed, but someone had told me it wasn't sprayed because that stuff doesn't work as good in the cold weather. And getting back at that too, with how much it poured on Saturday night, I don't think that stuff would have been still on the track when it comes Sunday morning. You know.
My understanding.
I didn't notice it when I was out there. I didn't like during the summer. I can tell when that stuff was laid down because you could really feel it.
Yeah.
But all Turkey Derby, I really couldn't tell that was laid down. It did look really black on the outside. I know what you're saying, Josh, but for some reason, I don't think they put that stuff down for Turkey Derby.
At the very least, there was definitely some rubber that got into the track.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, maybe that either way, that had to have played into those launches.
Yeah.
So
while we're on the topic of the Wall SK race, Stephen Reed hit really hard. Have you talked to him, Scott? Is he okay?
No, I haven't talked to him, but I did walk over to the car after he hit because I wanted to see if he got wet when he hit those tires because they were filled with water. And I walked over, and they were actually trying to get the car to go back out again. The tires that he ran into did the job of cushioning the blow. He just had a bent tie rod, and they were actually switching it, trying to get back out, but they didn't. They kind of decided too late. They thought they were done, so they were kind of putting their tools away. And then when the car got towed back into the pit, Steven got out of the car, and they're like, guys, this is a tie rod. Let's change it. But they kind of waited too long. They were ready to go back to Ream. Yeah. And he was fine. He was fine. He didn't even seem too upset about it. He was a little more disappointed that they didn't make the decision sooner enough to try to fix the car to get back out there and race. But, yeah, that was a pretty hard hit.
Now, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, speaking of hard hits, we had late model time trial crash. That car got pretty badly bent up.
Yeah, that was Rick Koff. I talked to Rick after it, and he was actually cutting the car up to get back in the trailer. Rick was also fine, and that was good to see, but that car was bent bad.
Yeah. Then we had Jerry Koenig. And
that was a scary. I brought back bad memories for myself, but that was a hard hit, and luckily, the car was held up. It wasn't that bad.
The car didn't look that, for as hard of a hit as that was, the car didn't look that terrible when it was getting towed off. I'm sure he slammed his knees or his legs up against the side.
Nancy did talk to Peg Koenig, which is Jerry's wife, and Jerry's fine. They said, one thing that I took away from the conversations I had with some of the crew guys, they were very happy that Jerry had the full containment seat, because it was a left side hit where most people back in the day would just run the right side headrest and not the left. And they said he did have a mark on his neck from the seat belt, but his head did stop traveling because it was up against the left side headrest of the full containment seat. So they're saying that was a big reason why he didn't get hurt. So if you don't have a left side headrest in your car, it's definitely you want to think about putting in. The only thing that was wrong with Jerry, his left arm did hurt a little bit when Nancy talked to Peg on Monday.
Yeah, I would assume left side, the extremities probably went out and hit part of the cage or something like that.
But there again, like where Stephen Reed hit the tires that they pile up in front of the concrete barriers that protect the track trucks and the photographers, they did their job by cushioning the blow when Stephen hit hard. Same as what the sand barrels did in front of the pit gate opening where Jerry hit. I mean, it was a hard hit, but there's like 3 or 4 sand barrels up there, so that kind of cushioned the blow and did less damage to the car.
Brings back memories of what I did to Rob Longo last year.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons you were watching Turkey Derby from the grandstands this year.
I was watching it mostly from my phone down in Tampa, Florida. But a good time was had by all. Now, Eric and Dave weren't the only ones that we had on that were competing in Turkey Derby this past weekend. Scott, you actually had a pretty solid weekend overall.
I had a great weekend. I really did. I mean, factory stocks, man. What can you say about the factories? Like, we had 26 or 27 cars on Friday. It was all pill draw for the heat races. I never got a real good draw on the heat races, so I started 15th on Friday and finished 3rd.
I'm going to be fair here, and Scott got screwed in the heat race.
Oh, wasn't I boxed in that whole race? I had nowhere to go.
They went like 3 wide. Scott backed off because it looked like it was going to be a wreck if he didn't. And then he ended up getting stuck behind, no offense, but 2 slower cars. And he basically had to kind of move one out of the way just to get by. And I understand. So it wasn't rough driving or anything like that. It was a come on, somebody move. It's like riding down the parkway and somebody's going slow in the fast lane. It was fun.
Every Saturday night I go to the Wall Stadium. Of course I want to win every time I go to the racetrack, but really my main goal is top 5 one piece, put the car back on the trailer. Turkey Derby, I go, you know what, top 10 one piece, put it back on the trailer, and I got out of there both races, 3rd place in both races, not a scratch on the car. It was a great weekend. And Nancy also had a great weekend. She finished 13th in the first one out of 26 cars, which was great. And then she finished 11th on Sunday, and she doesn't have a scratch on her car. So we had a great Turkey Derby. We really did. We really enjoyed it over there.
I'll say Elliott ran her pretty hard in one turn.
You know what? Under the red flag, if you notice, me, Elliott, and Ricky Collins sat next to each other in the back straightaway and we're talking. And 10 minutes of that, he was apologizing about him running into Nancy. He's like, dude, I got into her.
He shoved her up pretty good.
Well, Nancy did the right thing. She was getting a move over flag, so she goes down low. And for some reason, Elliott was passing her low when she was moving to go down low to let him have the outside. He's like, dude, I made a mistake. I didn't wait for her to move low. And I just, as I decided to go underneath her, she came down like she was supposed to, what the flagger was telling her to do. We connected. The whole time we were sitting on the back straightaway, he was apologizing to me about it, and he went right over to him and apologized, but it was fine.
I could hear him from turn 1, grandstand.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Although, Scott, I want to pick one bone with you. I think it was the final lap on Sunday.
Going down the backstretch.
Going down the back. You started to put your nose under Richie Byrne there.
I did, but if you notice that. Richie went in and he pushed Elliott up to the high lane, so I jumped on the bottom to pass Elliott. And next thing I know, Richie was up a half a lane, so I said, here's my shot. I'm going 3 wide, and we're going to get this.
Yeah.
As soon as I started to put my nose down there, Elliott started coming down on Richie because he was mad that Richie ran him up and pushed Richie down. So if I would have went underneath him, I would have been pushed in the infield. So I did have to hesitate and lift for a second and fall back in the line. I know exactly what you're saying.
Pretty darn good, don't they?
I think what Josh said, what Josh is thinking is he should have said, hell with it. I'm either going to win this one or get pushed in the dirt,
You could have door slammed Richie and Elliott and gotten that win there.
I just seen how they were racing the previous lap before them, and I knew that Elliott was mad because Richie door slammed it, and I knew Elliott came down hard on him, and I just knew I would have got the brunt of that hit because I would have been on the bottom. And
Scott, you were driving smart. I don't blame you at all, but at the same time, what a hell of a finish that could have been, 3 wide for the.
And you know what? And another, that was coming off turn 2, so. I know we still have 3 and 4 to go, and these guys are door slamming each other. So I didn't want to do it right then. I still want to wait to see what happened in 3 and 4, and they got loose coming out of 3 and 4, and I was trying to get underneath them too. So I understand what you're saying. I could have went for it. It was a split-second decision I made, and part of the reason I made that decision, number one, I knew Elliott was mad, and I knew he was door slamming Richie, and I knew if I went on the bottom of him, I was going to get pushed in the infield. And number 2, I knew we still had 3 and 4 to go because I wanted to see what those guys were going to do.
If they were going to take each other out, basically.
I still had another set of turns for them to push up the track and for me to get under carefully. It just didn't happen that way.
Yeah. No. You drove smart, and you had it. You don't have to completely rebuild your car now.
Right. But it was still a great finish. Even with Ricky Collins in 4th, I mean, we went across the line. All 4 of us was right there in the group, going across the line. It was pretty cool,
Although, who was it that got tore up pretty bad? It was on the last lap. Him and
Ron Booth.
Yeah, Ron Booth, and then Josh Merlino in the 57. Some other jerk with the initials JM in the 57.
Yeah, but we were asking how Jerry's doing. We also have to ask how Ron Booth was doing because I did talk to Ron after the race, and I tell you what, he said that his head was hurting pretty good, and I noticed his one eye was totally bloodshot.
Oh wow!
And I said, Ron,
I was. Screw it, I'm just going to say it. I was watching a live stream of the race, and I saw the wreck. I wasn't the one filming it, but I saw the wreck. And it almost looked like part of the roof got peeled back on the car. The hit was so hard. I thought I saw some sheet metal on the roof kind of buckle because of how hard he either hit the fence or
Ron told me when he was walking by, he said that it ripped the whole rear out of the car, and that's when I noticed his eye was bloodshot. I said, "Ron, your eye's bloodshot, and you're saying you took a good shot to the head." I said, "You might want to go get checked out." And he walked away, and that's the last I talked to him. Then when I was upstairs getting paid in the office, I saw Shannon Maggio. He's like, "Yeah, Ron went to the hospital." I'm like, "All right, good." I haven't heard anything since then, but I mean, he was fine. He was talking and everything, but
you have to worry about concussions and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign that he had some type of movement with his head if his eye moved like that to where it was all bloodshot. You know.
Unfortunately, I was all the way down turn 1, so I didn't have the best view of what was happening as they came off of 4. So I really don't know exactly what went down. I just know cars went around, people end up sliding and hitting all over.
There was another video someone posted on Facebook, and it looked like the 526 went in a little hot going into 3 and got a little loose and pushed up into Ron and got Ron sideways.
Okay.
And that's what kind of they were running in a tight pack. I mean, we had a tight pack, well, first, second, third, and fourth, and then we had a little break in between the next pack, but the next pack was still 4 or 5 cars battling out pretty hard, and they got all jumbled up in the turn, and Ron got turned sideways, and everybody just piled into him.
Yeah. Oh. Other than that, I'll say it was a good show. I mean, the factory stocks, we'll move past it and talk about the other divisions in a minute, but on Sunday ran 25 laps before the first caution. So, I mean, they made it halfway. And then after that, it was still pretty good. There's a couple things towards the end there. But overall, not a bad race. Friday was a little bit messier. Not nearly as messy as the 4-cylinders, which were, I mean, the track crew was joking on the radio that they put sportsman drivers in the 4-cylinders because they were that bad.
Well, there was a lot of them, too.
Oh, yeah. There
was a lot of out-of-towners that never raced. And there was even 4-cylinders from Mountain Speedway, like enduro type style 4-cylinders. So there was like a weird mix of cars in that race, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing we haven't mentioned yet. The car counts were great in all divisions.
Yeah, they were. I mean, the Legends usually get a lot of out-of-towners, like Mike Alcaro, who just
someone said they had like 40 cars there. The Legend cars or 30s.
Yeah. And the 4-cylinders we just mentioned were very good. The factory stocks had their same. They've been strong all year.
Well, yeah, the factory stock's been strong all year, so you didn't notice it as much. But
yeah,
there was a lot of Legend cars. The 4-cylinders, it looked like an Enduro. There were so many of them out there.
The Sportsman had a decent car count,
and the Modifieds had a Consi, right?
No.
Yeah, they had a Consi. Ron Freeze won the Consi in the Modified Tour, so yeah, they had a Consi. I'm not sure about the wall type modified. So I tell you what, though, watching the Modified Tour type race, you almost had to think a second because there were so many wall modifieds that put bolted 4 barrels on and ran with the tour cars.
Yeah.
You know? So then I'm like, well, if they're racing that, who's going to be racing the wall modified race? You know, because you had Chaz Okerson and Derek Hopkinson and Sean Carrick and all them. They raced with the tour guys. You know,
that's got to beat the crap out of the motors.
I tell you what, though, they were right there with him. I mean, Jimmy was actually faster with his 2-barrel wall modified than he was his tour type modified.
Was that?
Ryan Flores touched on that a little bit last week on the show too.
It's kind of like a tire thing too.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's weird.
But it was also that whole rolling the corner speed and that he had mentioned, because otherwise with the tour mods you gotta really get on the brakes and all that. But it was good racing.
Yeah, I also want to mention Ryan Flores because he was on our show last week. He ran great in the factory stock, and me and him did get to race together quite a bit. He
ran really well.
But unfortunately, I kept having transmission problems. He had problems on Friday. And I said, did you change the transmission for Sunday? He's like, no, it was low on fluid. We just put fluid in it. And then he dropped out of the Sunday race, too. So I guess
it was low on fluid because it all evaporated.
Well, it all pushed out, So I'm like, well, So I was running right with him in the Sunday feature. And me and him were having a blast coming up through the field. And then he dropped out on a restart again. And the transmission pushed the fluid out. So he's got a problem there with that.
It was certainly good to watch. I mean, and someone we haven't seen in a while was Rob McCormick was back.
Yeah, he had problems too.
The car wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't what we were used to. Mike Montano did really well overall. And Sunday he had some problems and dropped back quite a bit.
Josh, I'm going to go to Bragg and Camp here real quick.
Go
Back
ahead.
in the day, back in the day, they used to have an overall Turkey Derby champion. You know, they would take their scores. You know, your finishing order from both races, and whoever had the lowest number would be the champion. Well, I finished third, and that's 6, and I figured out where everybody else finished. I figured where everybody else finished. If they still would have had that thing, I would have been the overall champion.
Yeah.
So go buy yourself a trophy.
Yeah,
Take Eric's steering wheel.
I'm going to buy myself a wreath, too. Why not?
You just take it off the door.
While we're still on the factory stocks, I felt bad for that guy on Sunday that was leading with the 74 when he spun out. He spun out.
Yeah, that's Tim Majek. You know, Tim ran a great race. He got a do-over. You know, he went into the corner on like lap 45 or 46, and he spun out all by himself.
But he started up going again. He didn't sit there and wait for the caution, even though he had been leading.
Going again. Then Jerry wrecked and brought the yellow out, and they went back. They put him back up front, so he got a do-over, you know. And then a lap later, he does it again. He spins out all by himself. Me and Tim became pretty good friends, and you know, I was going to text him first thing in the morning and kind of cheer him up a little bit, but I got busy with the towing. And then he texted me too. He's like, "Oh, I had a great time racing. I'm beating myself up a little bit because I spun out." I texted him back. I'm like, "Tim, don't beat yourself up that you spun out all by yourself. You're new at this. You're working hard. You're doing great. Keep it up." Mm-hmm. And then I put, "Oh, and by the way, you spun out by yourself twice." I laugh out loud, you know. But no, he had a great run. That car was fast. It's a shame. You know.
I thought he was going to walk away with it for a while. I mean, and I like Shannon Mongeau and all, but it wasn't as exciting when he just drove away with it on Friday. Because I mean, he was 0.2 faster than the rest of the field.
Yeah, I did a 15.8, and I was so happy I did a 15.8, and then I looked at the thing, and he did a 15.6. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I don't mean to interrupt you guys. I was watching that race strictly off of Race Monitor, and after every restart, Shannon would run his fastest lap of the day, and Tim Magic, who was running second at the time, would run his personal best, and then sometimes even a couple hundredths faster than Shannon on Friday. Mm-hmm. So that was cool to watch. Tim was really quick all weekend long, and he was matching Shannon Mongeau in lap times on Friday after all those late restarts. I thought that was kind
Tim was also fast in the pre-Turkey Derby practices too. He went to the Saturday practice, and he had the fastest time of a low 15.8. Once again, I'll go to Brighton Camp on Friday. I was the second fastest time, right behind Shannon Mongeau. So, and I didn't go to any of the practices, you know, and you know, kind of like Dave Sapienza said, he felt confident going to Turkey Derby without going to the practices, and I did too. And my car was fast on Friday and was fast on Sunday.
Yeah, Scott actually, he really did have a good weekend. Like I said, Friday 15th up to 3rd. But yeah, Tim Magic. Actually, I was just happy to see him not like go head on into the wall and like have to clip his car. Like,
yeah, he's known for that.
Unfortunately, it was a lot of great racing. I mean, you know, right up there, best races of the weekend. You know,
the only thing that was a little disappointing. I mean, I can't say nothing because the factory stocks had 2 red flags, and we knocked the wall down with Jerry hitting the barrels there.
Yeah.
But the legend car races, they were a little tough. That, you know,
I think like
they took up a lot of time.
Somebody's saying like 10 of them went into the turn 3 wall all at the same time.
Yeah,
one big wreck got them or something.
And you know what? And on Saturday, it wasn't really their fault. They should have maybe called that race a little sooner because the moisture was so bad and the track was getting really damp, and I think that caused some of their problems in that race. Mm-hmm. But the only other thing I would have did differently, there's 2 things I noticed about Turkey Derby that I would have did different. You know, we always say if we win the lottery, we run the racetrack. 2 things I would have did different was, number one, they knew weather was coming. They had the modified tour type race, I should say. Mm-hmm. Then they had the dirt car race, and then they put the legend cars out with bad weather coming. On the very restart, someone hit the pit gate, knocked the barrels out, and it took time to fix all that stuff. I wish they would have went modified tour type, dirt cars, bought the wall mods out, and then tried to get the legend car race in, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of out-of-towners in the grandstands that are there for the modifieds, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then again, me and my brother were talking about it today. It was kind of cool going to the track at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning and watching a 100-lap modified race. So we were kind of spoiled with that. So it did work out in the end. But I would I would have moved the schedule around a little bit to get the modifieds in because that's the main.
I'm
reason
glad that they got the
there.
Tour Mod race in on Saturday at the very least because a lot of people,
Yeah, they felt satisfied. At least they saw 150 lap modified tour race.
And they did honor the Saturday tickets for Sunday morning. I
wanted to mention what you were getting into. Sorry to interrupt you, but the debacle on Facebook, social media.
Oh, yeah.
Now, anybody that didn't go on Sunday because they read all that crap Friday night, that went so smooth. You got your ticket before you went in.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make you get out. They didn't chase you out in between.
They didn't chase us out of the pits either. It was great.
Yeah.
And the racing was good, so.
And some people were asking for a discount. Well, if we have a Saturday ticket, we should at least get a discount for Sunday. Sunday, it's only $10 to get in. It is a discounted ticket.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there was a lot of racing scheduled on that Sunday anyway. I mean, it's almost like going to a baseball game and having a regular 9-inning game planned, but they're also going to finish a game that got rain shortened a couple of weeks back. I don't know why people were complaining about it, to be completely honest with you.
Look, there's a lot of good racing that happened all throughout. I mean, the Dirt Sportsman held up to the Sportsman name, of course. But you had the Outlaw stocks. They were a lot of fun to watch. You had 3 factory stock guys go out there with basically, factory stock tires.
I had planned on bringing one of mine Enduro cars there, but I was going to work on it on Thursday of Thanksgiving Day. I was going to work on my Enduro car to make it, change it over to asphalt and go race with the Outlaw stocks. I kept getting tow calls on Thursday, so I just kept working with the tow truck on Thanksgiving rather than go work on the race car. And when I got there, I saw there was Felber was there, Montana was there with his Enduro car, and Longo was there with his old factory stock. I'm like, and Tim O'Shea was there with a factory stock. I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought my Enduro car, But on the other hand, I was busy because I was in tech anyway. When the Outlaw stocks were out on the track, I was in tech with my car, so it would have been a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Josh, how do you feel about this? The only other complaint I had was I wish they would set the arena up for the demo cars early Sunday morning. I don't see why they have to wait until the oval track races are over to set that up. I don't think it would be in the way, and it's no different than having those corrals set up for the safety crew and everything down there. I think they could set that up, put tires around it like they do the other concrete barriers. This way, when the circle track races are over, they can bring the demo cars right down because they lose their fans because it takes a little too long to set that arena up and get the demo cars down there to do it.
The only thing I would say is because you end up having the mods run Sunday, because of their speed, it's nice to have that wider infield to give them room to get through. Especially if they go spinning down there or something. So if they didn't have that, you only had your, quote, unquote, slower divisions, maybe you could do that. And like you said, put the tires around it. I'm not really against that. It's something else that we had been brought up. I forget who said. I want to say it was I'm not even going to put a name out there. Suggested about what if you put the 8-cylinder demo on one side and the 4-cylinder on the other. That way you didn't have to wait. Now, I'm not saying we're come at the same time.
Right. Yeah, this way you don't have to clear the arena out before the next one comes down.
They tried that back in the day. Remember they tried that, Scott?
Yeah, they had 2 arenas. It worked great. And, we're talking about great turnouts for the race cars. There was great turnouts for the demo derbies, Eric.
Holy
I know you're
crap.
There
were, I want to say it was 12 or 14 of the 4-cylinder demo cars, 18 8-cylinder demo cars.
And I think some of them turned away because the state troopers were there, man. What a great job the state troopers did this weekend at the stadium. They were really on top of everything. I even seen them give some crew members breathalyzer tests in the pits. They were I mean, they were really on top of things. And unfortunately, I think there was a couple guys that came up from Maryland and their cars just the state troopers wouldn't let them run because they weren't, up to New Jersey state rules for the demo derbies, which was a shame. But I mean, there was still a great turnout of cars.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch too. I mean, the 4-cylinder demo had a pretty big fire.
Really?
They had to they just stop it for a minute, put the fire out, then let them. Actually, no, I think they ended it with that fire though, and they kind of called a winner from that because they didn't want to risk the fuel reigniting. There were a few good pops and radiator hoses blowing in the 8-cylinder race. I mean, they went on for a while because you had so many cars, and then
well-built cars too, very well-built cars. I was looking at them in the pits. There were some great built demolition.
Shout out to Steve Riggleman.
He didn't do much.
He kind of just sat there because the car didn't go. He was able to drive it down, and then it wouldn't fire.
My brother told me, I feel bad for Steven. He's really trying hard with this demo stuff, and he is mine and Tim's cousin. We do try to help him out as much as we can. He got there like 10 o'clock in the morning, sat there all day with his demo car. The demos didn't roll out on the track till like 9 o'clock at night, and he literally drove down the racetrack, past the grandstands, into the arena, parked the car in the arena, shut the car off. Car wouldn't start back up. Never got a hit in.
He got hit a few times. Oh, there was one car got jacked up on top of the rear bumper. Ended up getting hung up on the Jersey barrier there early on. So he ended up that was it for him. He got hung up. The car was otherwise fine, but the rear wheels were up off the ground. So
Josh, you were there Friday and Sunday. Were you also there on Saturday?
No, I didn't go Saturday. I took care of some house stuff.
Okay.
I mean, the rain I know scared a lot of other people off. I'm obviously there more for the factories and those divisions, the Fender divisions, than the Modified. So, personal preference, whatever.
There's your dog.
That's what he was. I saw him earlier looking around like what is his girlfriend crawling around on the floor? Like,
this Jay's this newest addition of the family. So he was really excited about all the Turkey Derby talk, and he came up to me.
He heard turkey and thought, food. Honestly, I had a blast. I mean, Friday was freezing, but it's Turkey Derby. You expect that. Sunday was good temperatures. Oh, sorry, Tim, I had your...
Friday was cold.
Yeah. I was hanging out with you and the twins in that big tent, which was closed on Sunday because the high winds with that storm Saturday night,
up, right?
It twisted the door frame or whatever. I mean, the tent nearly got taken down. Luckily, they put the big spikes in. So anyway, to run through everything else, 4 cylinders, total wreck fest on Friday. They were. And Neil Rutt was black flagged for, I guess, causing some incident or whatever. I know he was upset after that. However, Sunday, Neil Rutt III comes back and, it was a fight, but he got the win. So congrats to him if he ever showed up.
I also want to talk about the 4 cylinders. When I was in tech on Sunday, someone was saying on Friday one of the 4 cylinders cars were 300 pounds light across the scales.
Yes. How do you get that far off?
He wasn't even close.
And it ended up being Jordan Hadley, who actually won a Sunday 4-cylinder Turkey Derby. I think he's from Connecticut. A couple of years ago, he brought like 50 people with him because I remember I interviewed him in Victory Lane, and the crowd was going nuts for this kid. Well, he was illegal back then too. And then apparently he was legal again. So Chuck McDonald, who's from Connecticut, he's been coming out and supporting Wall year after year after year. He actually went on Facebook and took full blame for his DQ because he inherited the win. Then he got DQ'd. He had a spring rubber in the car. And he said that he just totally forgot to take it out from, other setups that he had at other tracks. And I feel bad for Chuck because he does so much, with what he has and what he can with that commute. And he doesn't just come for Turkey Derby. He comes for a lot of different races. So Christian LaCicero, who finished 3rd, ended up getting the win. So, and also another 4-cylinder story. I don't know if you guys saw this. Jimmy Avery, who was also an out-of-towner, was on his way to come to the racetrack.
Oh my God! They're getting
ready to load the car, and somebody driving down the road just drives right through the damn trailer. And
I want to explain it a little bit more. Like Eric said, they were on the side of the road. They had their trailer door down, so I guess they pulled their car out on the street and put it in. While their trailer door was down, the race car wasn't in the trailer yet. something like you would see in a movie. The lady came down the road and just like literally drove into the trailer and just ripped the whole side of the trailer out. And her car flipped over on its side when it came out.
Good.
It's like one of those things that you always think about, like, you know, when you're young and dumb and like you're just starting to drive. You're like, man, I wonder if I could drive into the back of this trailer, like, you know. Like, it's no big deal.
Everybody sees it, you know, especially me when I'm on the side of the highway with the flatbed and I have the bed down. It looks like the perfect ramp to jump on. You know what I'm saying? But they said they rushed to the lady's side because she was in the car, flipped upside down. They ran over to her to see if she was all right. And they said the first thing the lady said, the lady looked at him and said, "I'm sorry I ruined your trailer."
Damn right.
Eric, I've seen Jimmy Blue drive through campers trailers like that and through box trucks and stuff, so it can be done.
Oh, that's great.
I remember one time there was an old house trailer like you would see in a regular trailer park in the junkyard, and Jimmy had some Suburban that was running. He's like, "Scott, I'm going to drive right through that trailer." And he did. And the Suburban,
and
the Suburban just like, he's done it a million times where he just like rips right through it the other side and keeps going. Well, this time
he hit the water heater. Right?
He hit the water heater.
Stopped him dead.
He hit like the boiler room of the trailer, and it stopped him dead. And I never, you know, Jimmy's a tough guy. You know, he got out and he was white as a ghost, and he was in a lot of pain. It just stopped him dead. And I never see Jimmy drive through a trailer again after that.
I have. Rick Pond drove through that one and he jumped it and the airbag went off. Were you there for that one?
No, I wasn't there.
It blew his eyelashes and his eyebrows off. I hope my airbag never goes off because that screws you up.
I'll tell you, you'll never forget that smell. That's for damn sure.
Oh, I know. When I did the police towing for 10 years, man, whenever I was at an accident scene, I had to put the cars in neutral to load the cars up. Man, those airbags smell terrible when they go off.
It's something. It's like the cordite or whatever is in the charge for. Yeah.
It's almost like gunpowder.
Yeah.
Before we get off the 4-cylinders, did you see that white car from Long Island was 15 Li with the little shark roof?
Yeah. He also had a demolition derby car there too. That guy.
Yeah. He must have had a stick shift in that car. Were you listening to him?
Was he shifting?
Yeah, it sounded like it. He had big horsepower, but he kept blowing the right front tires off of it.
What was that? There was one definitely out of towner 4-cylinder. I mean, it was tiny, like Mustang 2 kind of tiny. You guys catch it? It was blue.
Yeah.
What was that? Does anybody know what kind of car that actually was?
It looked like a Mustang.
I wasn't the only one that thought that.
Josh, I don't think he's an out-of-towner. I think he's one of our regular guys. I think I've seen that car there a couple times there this year. It is a Mustang, yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like it looked like it had a lift kit put in, and it had been through a demo derby.
Eric, I know you weren't there Saturday, but you were following with social media and stuff. And Tim, you were there Saturday. What happened with Joey Payne with the TQ race? I seen he spun out. And then when he was coming back out, it almost looked like he, from the infield, he was yelling at his son. Was he yelling at his son? Did something happen there?
I read somewhere that they may have gotten together, but I didn't see any video or anything like that. I know that, you know, there are some guys who've already uploaded their TQ footage, like Richie Davidowitz is one of them. And I'm wondering if that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like there was a little family squabble going over there. Something happened.
We haven't seen that before this year, have we?
Yeah. Joey was running great. And then, it looked like Joey spun out all by himself, and Joey's a great race car driver. And I'm like, man, that's weird to see Joey spin out by himself. Then like 2 or 3 more TQs spun out all by themselves, so they were having trouble getting grip with the cold temperatures.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the legends, on Sunday, I actually ran across Kyle Diehlmann. I mean, he actually grabbed me and said,
"Yeah, he grabbed me too." He's a big fan of our show, man. Every time
I don't know why.
He said he really loved the Greg Biffle thing. You know, whenever he sees me at the driver meeting, he always comes and talks to me about the show and everything like that. So we need to get him on one night.
I agree, absolutely.
In that point, so many people come up to me and talk about the show and everything, and if you want to come on, just message us. Well, you can come on.
Please.
It's not that hard.
Yeah,
I will say that the Riggleman family has been the best agents that any podcast could ever ask for. Between Tim, Scott, and Nancy, I think we're set for life with having cool people to talk to.
Oh, absolutely.
I was at Thompson for the last tour race. Some guy walks up to me and goes, "I know you from the RPM podcast." I think of myself, does that make me like famous now?
Apparently. I want to say Kyle Dillman in the Legends. He had he somehow midway down the backstretch got loose. It started to go up towards the wall. Then almost like he had a tire going down, and it started to pull him up to the right. And then he gets sideways, like really loose going into 3. I'm like, oh, well, he's going to spin. He hung on to that thing and saved it and kept going, got the foot right back in it. I don't know how the hell he did. He's like, just driving it, It was awesome to watch. I mean, it's because the Legends are really twitchy. So are the TQs. So, once they snap, that's kind of it. But he drove the hell out of that thing and kept it going. So, huge credit to him. And, we'll get him on. Just message us.
One of our previous guests with Joe Graft was in the Legend cars, too.
Okay. Yeah.
I tell you what, on Saturday night, he was battling on the outside for that win, and he was doing good, and they got canceled due to weather.
Right.
How do you make out when they got that race started again? I didn't see.
He didn't win.
Yeah.
So I know my laps only has Friday, Sunday. I believe the guy who won the Legend Cars race name was Daniel Carter in the 83 car, the one that was restarted.
Okay.
All right, so quick recap here. Shannon Monjo, we mentioned, won factory stocks, and he capped off the perfect season, the limited late model. Couldn't ask for a better year. Literally won everything that the limited late models competed.
Controversy in that race.
Him and Joe?
Yeah.
Well, Joe said he just got loose.
Obviously no. I mean, Joe and Shannon aren't going to wreck each other to begin with. They've raced. Those two have finished first and second all year long. They didn't, but he got booted. Shannon got out. He almost sounded like he was going to cry because he got booed.
He's like, I don't know what everybody's booing for. He bounced off the side of me.
And I tell you what, from the naked eye watching it during the race, it almost looked like Shannon came up on Joe. But then when I watched the replay, Joe got loose coming off of 4 and kind of came down into Shannon. As Shannon was coming up, they kind of met in the middle. So it was really nobody's fault. It was kind of like a racing deal. But
Joe said he got loose, bounced off of the side of Shannon, and then that shot him right back up to the wall, and there he rode it. And
Well, Joe's really got to pedal that car to stay with Shannon. I mean, Joe does a fantastic job. And as hard as he's pedaling that car, sooner or later it's gonna
come around on him. He knows he has to get every ounce of power out of that car to beat Shannon, where Shannon's probably on cruise control. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you got to press that hard, mistakes happen.
I mean, they're both. I mean, it's not their first rodeo, so I mean, they're good to race with. Except they usually just run away from me. So it's not too long that it lasts. But that was a pretty good show. Eric, you were.
Go ahead, Eric. We interrupted you.
You want to do the recap?
Sorry, guys. The dog's eating the plastic off his dog pan.
Wait till you have 3 kids, boy.
What do yours eat?
Plastic.
This second dog is making us rethink that. So Shannon Monjo gets factory stock limited late model. We mentioned Christian Cicero, virtue of 2 DQs, got him the legal win in the 4-cylinder ranks on Friday. Jimmy Blewett did get a win for himself in the sportsman ranks on Friday, and then that Legend car race, which was actually beginning on Saturday. That was it was Legend's first time that I can remember that instead of running a split schedule like the factories in 4s, they ran Saturday, Sunday. So the race that was supposed to be Saturday was Daniel Carter. We spoke to the Tour Mod winner from Saturday and Dave Sapienza, and Buddy Slode got the win in the TQ event. And finally, on Sunday, we spoke to Eric Mauriello, who won the rain-postponed Wall and SK modified event. Our buddy Neil Rupp III got a very emotional win. I got to watch the end of that race as it was happening, and I patiently waited for Neil to gather his thoughts and try to give a Victory Lane interview with Gary Larson. And I've never, if you know Neil, he's got a lot of energy, very talented. And I've never seen him so composed before, and you could tell that win meant so much to him. And it was great to see, and Neil, we're happy for you, and did the RPM podcast proud.
He was so emotional because something with his family won Turkey Derby 40 years ago or something.
Grandfather.
Like that. Yeah. That's why he was so emotional.
Mm-hmm. It was I don't know if it was 40 years ago, almost to the day, but it was wild and great for Neil and that family. Also in the Dirt Sportsman, Jeff Parker beat out last year's winner, Scott Holmes. Outlaw Stocks, Darren Cox competed at Wall Stadium for quite some time. He got the win there. The Legend Car race for Sunday was Mike Alcaro.
Shocking.
And in probably the most exciting race of the weekend, that second factory stock event, it was Richie Byrne, who, from what I saw, pulled off a bit of a bump and run on Elliott Wall in the final lap to get by and grab that win.
He didn't bump him enough, though. I needed them to really bump each other, so I could have got the win.
Elliott Wall able to fill the hole. I wasn't able to fill that one.
I thought it was a good race for myself.
It was. It was a lot of fun. I had the best seat in the house. I really did.
Did you mention that Jimmy won the Dirt Modified?
No, I didn't. And I think it was on my. Was it on my list? I don't know. I think no, dog's kissing me.
You have him for the Friday Sportsman.
Going to the Friday Sportsman race. People say Jimmy shouldn't race that race, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And
because it's a lower division.
I don't disagree with that, but he did. The guy he drove for was Al Camp in that car.
Okay.
Al Camp's like the nicest guy in the pits. Never won a race. Always had beautiful race cars, but could never get his driver or him get the job done.
Right.
He was so happy after that race. I feel really, really good for Al Camp. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. When Alan Camp was still running a 4-cylinder at Wall, probably about 3 years ago, I ran into him at the restroom at the awards banquet.
Oh, Jesus.
Odd place to talk.
I don't know where this story's going.
This is going to be
I'm ready to listen to see where
it's not bad. And we both had a few drinks in us already by this point. And
you'd been watching.
And he was so excited, and I didn't know why. I couldn't tell why because, it's the awards banquet, and it was Alan. And even though Alan's been racing forever, when I first talked to him about the 4-cylinder stuff, he was excited to get back into the car, but he said he wasn't expecting to be competitive. He finished 10th in the point standings, and the Managing Krause family was giving away trophies and acknowledging the top 10 in all divisions that year. And Alan said, he's like, I can't believe I got a trophy. He's like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. He's like, I'm so happy that I got a trophy of finishing 10th. He's like, next year I'm going for 9th. and you would think he just won Turkey Derby, and I'm happy to see that this week. And he did win Turkey Derby as a car owner. So
that's
Alan's
the right
great
attitude to have it, though, I think.
I tell you what, I was the same way. I got a lot of trophies and tons of trophies, tons of first place ones, but I also have some 7th place points finishes and stuff like that. And I was always proud of them until I watched that movie Meet the Fockers. You ever see the part where they're like, they give out trophies for 8th place?
I will take my 4th place points trophy, and that's going to stay right up in the corner with all my other racing photos and stuff like that because I'm proud of that.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That's tough to do. I mean, it's tough.
I mean, with the car I had and for it was only my 2nd year to do it, I mean.
Well, you were saying you put that thing on social media. This was like your first Turkey Derby in so many years you haven't raced.
Right.
It was kind of weird. This was the first Turkey Derby since I was 18 years old. I never spotted for nobody all weekend.
And, so you guys just sit and enjoy it.
I was supposed to spot for Timmy Salamino in the tour race, and unfortunately, the motor didn't blow up, and like Sap was saying earlier, something stupid, broke in it, and then I decided not to race it. And I
thought for sure you would have spotted for Anthony Cecily.
Well, Cecily had already found somebody else because he was supposed to run both. I don't know. Did he even run both features?
I don't know.
I know he ran the tour race. I don't know if he ran he didn't run the SK, so. He had Danny Salmon spot for him.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Speaking of weird, stupid little engine problems, I think it was Rosano in the 4-cylinders. They were doing some work around the engine, and they had taken part of the air cleaner area off. And you know how you always plug it with something like a rag or something so you don't drop anything down in there? They'd used a paper towel. They went to take it out. It got hung up on the butterfly, and they lost half their paper towel in the intake.
Did she finish second, though? I thought she finished
second. After some tools and like little dentist hooks and stuff like that, they did get it cleaned out, and they were okay, but yeah.
What I wanted to say is I haven't spotted for anybody. Didn't spot for anybody. I actually caught myself. Like, once I started, say I was watching Eric Mauriello, I just got focused on him for like 10 laps. I'm just watching him, thinking to myself, you don't have to just watch one car.
Oh, you're allowed to look other places.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, you were probably also yelling for me to go for it on the last lap to go 3 wide.
No, but
I was.
I was sitting on the top row, and Mom and the girls were sitting on the bottom row. And Mom actually got up off her seat like you were gonna, like she got that excited. you were gonna go 3 wide, and then you didn't.
Yeah, it was. Again, it was the smart move, but I was like, "Come on, go!" Oh no, he didn't go for it.
I'm telling you, Josh, I had the foot down. I was floored. I had the car turned to the left to go into Richie, and then I seen Ellie door slam him. I said, "This ain't gonna be good." I just burped a little bit and fell back in line with Richie, and I really thought they were gonna get together going through 3 and 4, and they did get together going 3 and 4. It just wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
those of you listening may have seen a red factory stock with a yellow Napa hat on it. That was Bill Stockert in his final race. What did they say? 54 years of racing.
Yeah, he's been racing forever.
Yeah, and a great guy. I've run enduros and factory stock races with him. Nicest guy. Always has food in the trailer. I mean, he will feed every single person at the track if he could. I mean, he's like, "Come on, stop by. There's food." Great guy. So much fun. He's gonna be. I would say he's gonna be missed, but at the same time, he's still gonna be around the track. He's still gonna be helping people out. He's just not gonna be driving.
Josh, that would be a great ride for you. Maybe you should call those guys, see if you can get in that car.
Honestly, that's not a bad idea, but it's a lot of traveling.
Yeah. I thought Mark, the guy that owns a car, lives in South Jersey down by you.
Actually, I thought he was up in, was it Pennsylvania or New York?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I know Bill Stocker's from Long Island, but I thought
that's
the car
what
was
it is.
here.
Okay, yeah.
But I think the car's here in Jersey somewhere. Maybe it's something you can look into. But I told Bill, I said, "Bill, you've been retiring every Turkey Derby for the last 5 years, so I'm not even paying attention to it." He's like, "No, this time it's for real." He said his doctor's telling him he should give it up. His doctor didn't even like him in the race car this week. Right. Another one. Take it for what it's worth. I've heard this before too. Ron Booth also told me that might have been his last race weekend too. His car's for sale. He's looking to move to North Carolina.
There's not much left of the car, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's still on the front half. That's still good. But yeah, he's looking to maybe relocate down to North Carolina, so he might be selling. If anybody's looking for a great factory stock, maybe give Ron a call.
I heard he's renting a room with Eric.
Josh, what did you think of the crowd on Sunday?
Well, I would say overall the crowd was a little light overall for the weekend. Friday was a bit light. It was cold, and you can try to blame the cold for that, but honestly, it's Turkey Derby. I mean, you should expect it to be cold.
I don't think it was the cold. I think it was the 100% forecast of rain at like 3, 4 o'clock.
For Saturday,
yes. Saturday. Oh, you're talking about Sunday? Yeah.
I was talking about Friday. Sunday was about what I would expect because you don't you didn't have
yeah, and anybody that does not go on Sunday's the best day to go.
It's
the racing is great. The weather was perfect.
They start earlier, so you can get out of there earlier. And it was tough this time because they had the other events to finish from Saturday, but they still get it through pretty quick. I mean, the track crew, hell of a job. I mean, they were working a lot more than they should have been, but it's a lot of fun.
For $10.
Yeah. Sunday's probably the best day to go. Plus, you get the demo derbies. It's a great show all around, and you get the best divisions because you get the 4 cylinders and factory stocks.
I thought Saturday was a little light from past years.
Yeah, especially last year was packed house. This year, not so much. And I don't know what to attribute that to because I think you still had all the big names that you would expect.
The weather. I mean, it's just the call. Every weather app out were saying 100% chance of rain around 3, 4 o'clock. So a lot of people didn't want to chance it.
It's because Eric Brennan wasn't there. That's where.
Not gonna lie, it kind of was. It was weird not having Eric Brennan call the factories.
I every weekend, Scooter will call me. You'll post this video tomorrow on YouTube. I'll put the link on my Facebook page. Within an hour, Scooter will be calling. You got to kiss everybody's butt. That's what your job is on there, kiss butt. Eric Brennan, I'm going to kiss your butt right now.
He likes that.
Yeah, it's got to do with this weekend. Like me and Scott, we grew up going to the races, and at New Egypt Speedway it was always Earl Krause. At Wall Stadium it was always Jeff Cravatt and
Lee
Greenwood, and what's that? Charlie Roberts. We grew up with their names at the racetrack, and Ben Dodge and Mike Cowanoff used to do Pocono every year. And you grow up with these names, and Mike Joy from Connecticut, who does the Cup races now. We're sitting in the stands, and it was Sunday because you could hear the loudspeaker better. Bailey turns around and goes, "Daddy, Wall Stadium is not the same without Eric Brennan."
Oh.
So it's just it's when you grow up, it's just part of it. Like, you are Wall Stadium to a lot of younger people. And it kind of sucks that you weren't there, but.
Well, of course, you didn't think about that, and you moved away. So.
Well, that means a lot, not only from you, but of course Bailey and everybody. I made a push. I said on the last show, I made a push to try to be there. Things just unfortunately didn't work out for reasons beyond my control. So my fiance and I elected to go down to Florida, where I got in trouble a couple of times for being on my phone a little bit too much because I couldn't stay away from what was happening.
Which direction were you swiping?
So neither. Damn it, God. So
it was worth a shot.
But obviously, a lot of us are hearing similar things about what next year may be in store, and I kind of told my fiance that odds are I'll be trying to make a trip back to Jersey, even if I just got to hang out with all my friends in the grandstands next year. So, hopefully I got a few good things cooking to make this move worthwhile over the next few months or so. So we'll see. But
we want the best for you. But I mean, it was different. I mean, Earl Krause does a great job.
I tell you what, Gary Larson did a great job too. I enjoyed listening to poor Gary though. He had to run from the tower to the victory lane and back up to the tower.
I talked to Gary tonight, and he said he was absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
He said that Jim Murdoch came upstairs Sunday afternoon to promote his videos just for one last time, and the Dirt Outlaw stocks were out there at the track. And Jim, I don't know if Jim asked if he could step in or if they offered it, because Gary said he was just spent.
Yeah.
So
I see really this weekend.
Yeah, and especially with the rainouts. I mean, that's keeping not only the drivers and stuff, but all the track employees, still at the track for all those extra hours. And it was a long one. I think a couple of years ago we had a weekend like this, and it was tough, but it's the love of the sport, I guess.
I will say, Little Jim did a good job with the announcing the Outlaw stocks. I mean, a lot better than I expected with the play-by-play. So it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing I do want to mention. I want to get this in before we go off air. And Josh, I know you got a couple more key points you want to hit. If you want to talk about putting things into perspective, I did happen to share on social media. I was thinking about everybody on Friday. It's actually my first time in 11 years I haven't been to Turkey Derby at all. First time in 6 years that I haven't been able to announce. Jeff Cravatt commented underneath, and I didn't know this at the time, but Jeff had fallen under the weather. And he said it was the first time for him in 44 years that he wasn't able to be at the track. Just want to let everybody know that, we're thinking about Jeff Cravatt. We know that he's still, got some tough road ahead of him. But, hopefully things are going to head up in a positive direction. Jeff, Earl, and Gary are seriously like older brother and father figures to me, and I'll let you guys figure out which is which. But nevertheless, they are family. Those guys have mentored me and guided me between how witty Jeff could be, with a post-race interview, even if it's somebody he really doesn't know much about, the professionalism that Earl brings to the table, and just how Gary knows how to let loose and have fun and keep his energy up. Those three have all given me things to learn from and grow from, and they really are like a bloodline of family to me. And Jeff, I love you. I hope you're on the road to recovery, and I'm definitely going to be asking about you every single day. and I hope to hear some good news real soon. So I just want to get that in, let everyone know what they're thinking about Jeff, and it put things into perspective. It really did.
No, it's important, and his streak certainly puts yours to shame.
True.
But
you are the B team.
It's true.
Now he's a C team.
He's not even the B team anymore.
As in, we might see you next year.
Well,
in what capacity? Who knows?
Back when we started this podcast, and Eric Graham was every week here with us. He referred to Eric Brennan as Gary Larson's bitch.
I tell you what, Eric Graham worked his ass off this weekend too,
I
man.
Seen him running. I saw him running a couple times. I'm like, well, you got to slow down, boy. He was down there, down in the infield, running around.
Yeah, he worked his ass off.
He was trying to help somebody get one of the four-cylinder guys get their window net up. He was picking up. He was helping the track crew because there was some debris that landed up by him in turn 4.
That's when I saw him running. I'm like, you got to slow down, boy.
Yeah, he actually turned Nancy's GoPro on for her too while he was in the stage there. So he was doing a little bit of everything.
If there's one thing, Eric Graham, because he has been a driver, he understands. So he's willing to work. The rules are the rules, but he's willing to at least listen to the driver because he's been there, and that means a lot.
I like dealing with Eric. I like dealing with everybody over there. I mean, it seems like everybody's settled into their position and everybody knows each other now, and things are working so smooth over there now. It's great.
Oh yeah, except for the receivers and the legends and the outlaw stocks.
Yeah.
I brought my receiver and I was listening, and they, how they come out and they stop at the line, and then they bring the other row out. The couple of the legends just went, and the same with some of the outlaw stocks. Just went.
Well, they're all new to the track. They don't know how it works.
But they were getting yelled at a little bit for not lining up and things like that. But overall, honestly, what a show! I had a blast there. I got to chat with Andrew Krause for a bit on Sunday, which it was just great because he and I.
Yes, we've had insurance at the track, like he asked for.
We're going to get deep here, guys.
No, I didn't. I'm pretty sure they do. But yeah. No, well, Andrew used to run the factory stocks with us, and I had some great battles with him.
I wanted to see him in the dirt where he broke early.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing him run that, but
honestly, he may have a slightly unfair advantage with the dirt mod at the track, but it is so much fun to watch him wheel that thing. It really is impressive, and he says you're going in there and you're just holding on, and I don't know how he does it, but he makes it work.
Andrew can drive. He stays right with Jimmy every week.
Mm-hmm.
He can be he's a top 10 to 15th place car on the tour, and some nights he's a little better.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the big three at Wall Stadium. He's definitely the top 3 at Wall Stadium. He runs great.
Yeah.
It was good to catch up with him. I talked to Diane for a couple minutes as well, and I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form I can either get my car together or put a car together for next year. It's certainly not going to be able to afford to do the full season, but if I can make it out there for a couple races or something like that, I would love to. It was nice to not have the pressure. Like you were talking, you didn't actually have to spot for anybody. You were able to just enjoy. I kind of had that same opportunity, but it was also bugging me that I wasn't out there. So, I don't know. I got to try to get something together and do all that. So we'll see where it all goes. I think the track has their awards banquet coming up.
Yes, Sunday. Sunday 3 to 8.
I didn't get my invite, so I don't know.
Yeah.
They got that coming up. Then we said, we have Trenton coming up, Atlantic City. What else?
Plenty of racing. Racing never stops on the RPM podcast, and we'll have plenty to talk about all winter long.
Yeah,
it's after 11, so it's past Eric's bedtime. We told him we'd be done by 11.
Oh
so.
no, he's going to turn into a pumpkin.
I just wanted to say before we get off, I thought the whole weekend went great, no problems.
There were a few red flags, but they handled it well.
My hard luck driver for the weekend was Joey Payne. He spun out. Scott said he spun out like in the Tiki race, and he had to. Anybody that knows Joey Payne personally, this had to kill him. Like you just said, he was sitting on the Jersey barrier watching the race. Like I knew that had to kill him. Oh. And then he comes out for the dirt car race, the dirt modified race. He does like half a lap and gets a flat tire. I guess something maybe broke. And he got out of the car and he stood in the same exact spot he was watching the other race. So I know he was down there pissed. He gets the hard luck award for me for the Turkey Derby weekend.
And I just want to mention this real quick to you. On last week's show, I said there's always that one guy running around Friday morning looking for a propane heater because he didn't put antifreeze in his car and his motor was locked up. Sure enough, as soon as I got there, got out of the tow truck, Jimmy Herbert comes over and says, "Scott, do you have a propane heater? My radiator is a solid block."
Whoop.
I looked at him. I said, "Jimmy, you didn't put antifreeze in the car?" He's like, "No, it says in the rules no antifreeze." I said, "Well, it also says in a handbook that water freezes at 32 degrees, so it's 60 degrees out." So we spent all morning defrosting Jimmy Herbert's factory stock, and it you know what? It did blow out. It was so frozen, it blew out a freeze out plug, and we had to put a freeze out plug in. He put a freeze out plug in it right there.
I'm just glad the freeze out plug worked.
Yeah, it did. It worked. Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes people glue them in so good because they're afraid that they're going to fall out under race conditions that they don't blow out and the motor still cracks. His freeze out plug blew out. Unfortunately, it was right behind the motor mount, so he really had to work hard to get in there. He got it done though. He got it together and they raced. So, there's always that.
Something else to mention: the water line that froze and burst in the pits on Friday from it being so cold. One of the water lines, and they have well water. They don't. It's not city water. The line froze and burst, and I guess water sprayed all over coming from by the food stand. And there was water coming up out of the ground, and that was running down across the to the staging lanes.
I mean, Friday was brutal too. Everybody was running around looking for battery chargers and jump packs. Everybody had dead batteries from the cold.
Do you know anybody, Scott?
Yeah. I was running for practice, but then after practice, when it started, I had to send Nancy out to go get 2 car batteries. I sent her to Advanced Auto. Man, I'm telling you, the price of batteries are through the roof. It cost us $278 for 2 batteries for the race cars on Friday morning, man. The cost of batteries are through. They used to be $60 a piece. Now they're looking for $2,530 a piece.
Yeah.
But you need them to start the car, so we went racing, They start right up now.
Good.
I told Nancy, I said, if your motor blows up in this race, just keep the car in the gear and hit the starter button and drive around on the battery with the starter turning the motor over because we spent so much money on those batteries. All right, let's wrap it up. It's past 11 o'clock. We promised Eric we'd be done.
Yeah, all I was saying was with that pipe that froze, Fletcher Kramer had to come in. And on Turkey Derby weekend, you have a construction crew with a backhoe and jackhammer and everything digging up a big hole in the pits to fix this water line.
They did a fine job, though.
They did. It's just, I mean, what a mess of a day.
And all that was going on right next to Waddell's trailer. He was in there going crazy.
Yeah,
Thank God Waddell was there because it was cold. I stayed in his trailer all day Friday.
There's other stuff we would like to get to. We're not going to get to it this week. There's a sprint car thing from AJ Wright that I keep pushing off. Some NASCAR and Indy and stuff like that. We're going to get to that next week. We've wasted enough of your time today. So let's wrap it up by what have we learned today, Eric Brennan.
Well, I don't want to say I learned this, but I guess it was refreshing to hear that Eric Mauriello wants his racing career to continue on. 'Cause I think when things kind of took a step back for him, Eric really wasn't around that much for me to hear a little bit more about what he was looking to come out of his racing career. And he's talented. He's really, really talented. And I would like to see him get more opportunities as things go forward. I also learned that, and it was very humbling, that I was missed at least by Bailey and Tim. So that means the world to me. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, Tim. You learned that Waddell's trailer is warm? Is that what it is?
There you go.
But I said that, so I can't use that.
All right, Scott, what did you learn today?
That Grandview Speedway has awesome pizza.
Oh, yes, I did learn.
Who would never think that a dirt track out in the middle of Pennsylvania would have awesome pizza? I race out there, so we might have to grab a slice and try it when we go out there over the summer.
While we're on food real quick, I did have a pork, egg, and cheese from
I'm sure you did.
Just one. At Johnny O's, one of his trailers in the middle there. Mm-hmm. Very good. It was well worth the $5.
Oh yeah, I had that on Friday. I had that and a coffee, and then I had I had another one on Sunday, and I was helping Brian O'Shea out, and I was like, everything seemed set, so I'm like, I'm going to get some food. I go to walk back, he's wailing away on the car with a mallet trying to get more tire clearance. I think tires for yellow socks? No, I think he went with a softer rear spring.
Oh, the car was lowering down.
Yeah,
coming off the corner.
Yeah, so he was, and then I'm like, okay, good. I think he got it. And then next thing I know, Andrew Krause is wailing away on the other side of his car, helping Brian. It was just, I was like, I can't even eat my sandwich. It was amusing. Anyway, today I learned that Sapienza never walked away with a trophy when Blewett was behind him. I learned that modifieds are really easy to drive. I learned that Eric Brennan does a lot of watching.
Can't argue it.
I learned that Tim's kids eat the plastic off the chairs. I learned that Eric got a dog. And I also learned that Eric and Al Camp spent time together in the bathroom.
It's all true, folks. I don't know where to go from here. Huge thanks to Dave Sapienza and Eric Mauriello. I want to thank them both for taking some time out to talk about their wins at Turkey Derby 45. Huge
Tim,
thanks.
You want to thank somebody?
Yeah, before you close the show out, to get Dave Sapienza on here. I don't know Dave Sapienza personally. I got to thank Ski Chew at Riverhead. I actually texted him on the phone and said, "Yo, do you know Dave Sapienza?" Good. 5 minutes later, he calls me. He says, "I'm in the parking lot of Dave Sapienza's business." He went in there. He talked to him, and that's how he got hooked up with Dave. I just wanted to thank him. That was literally happened in 5 minutes. So
thank you,
Tim. Do you know what kind of business Dave Sapienza has? It's one thing I forgot to ask him.
I honestly don't. I think it's an auto body shop or some kind of car business,
automotive related.
Yeah. And why I interrupted you? We didn't mention it, but the camping at Turkey Derby was great this year.
Oh, the camping area was full. Yeah.
Yeah, and people had Christmas lights up, and it was cool. It was great, a great time, and everybody that camped and supported that was cool.
As we were leaving, my dad and I are freezing as we get back in the truck. We were headed over to Woody's. I hung out with Eric Graham and Sam Ballard Jr. for a little bit there. But my dad saw all the fires going. He's like, "You want to stop there and hang out by the fire for a few minutes?"
I did. Friday when I left, I stopped over by Robert Barker's trailer for a little bit and stood by his fire and warmed up. Man, what a setup he had going on over there. He had John Lee, Tommy Lean, John's brother, was all set up with his he had karaoke equipment, DJ equipment, and they were all set up, big bar set up. They had Christmas lights. They had the light up Santa Clauses and snowmen, and everybody was hanging out over there. They were really set up to have a good time, and that was great to see. And I think we're going to see that again when the Modified Tour comes to town. I think on the May 18th or 19th show, I think we're going to see a lot of camping for that race also. I think that's going to be like a mini Turkey Derby. I really do.
I hope so. And Diane told me, the schedule's not out yet. So this is, trust me or don't, whatever. The factory stocks are going to be on for that date.
I'm hoping for like a big race, like a 50-lapper in front of a Modified Tour crowd. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, don't put the sportsman out there.
Yeah, we
do not put the sportsman out there.
Scott was talking about that on the phone earlier. Not to tell anybody, what they should or shouldn't do, but it would be cool if it was just the Modified Tour, the factory stocks, and maybe like the Wall Modified or something, just to promote their own racing,
Yeah.
And hopefully some of the tour guys will bring their SK cars with them. It might make for a better show. That's all three. That's all they need.
Yeah.
Let those people get back home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially that kind of traveling.
Believe me, I know. I leave Thompson at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday to get back here.
He's not bitter about it at all. All right, Eric, wrap it up.
Good. Wrap us up, buddy.
Yeah, Tim, thank you for that, for hooking us up with Dave. So, again, Dave Sapienza, Eric Mauriello, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, of course, to Scott, Tim Riggleman, Josh Matthews for helping us put this all together. Sam Ballard, again, he's coming back. He's pulling a me right now. So
He's the new Eric Brennan.
Yeah, he'll be back whenever he can. And as Scott was mentioning, we're going to keep you covered all throughout the offseason. We got indoor racing coming up. We got a whole bunch of off-season news, as Josh said, that we haven't even gotten a chance to tap into yet. And now that things have kind of calmed down, we get to have a little bit more fun. So keep your eyes peeled only on our Facebook page, but also on Instagram and our YouTube channel. And you can also check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud for the RPM podcast. Did I miss anything, Josh?
Not SoundCloud.
So, okay, no more SoundCloud. My bad. See, that's how long I've been
Not
gone.
right now.
So, with that, I'm going to bed. So, once again, on behalf of Tim Riggleman, Scott Riggleman, and Josh Matthews, I'm Eric Brennan. See you all next week on the RPM podcast. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Go to the Wall Banquet.